Have you ever wondered what makes people so successful? What is that game-winning recipe that makes some people at the top echelon and others feeling as if they are falling behind and not living up to their potential? Stay tuned and we'll find out. I am Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions, and I work with professionals to help them gain the most out of their lives. That we look at our brain, a science-based framework to be able to be the most effective and efficient in our personal and professional lives. We find joy and we find meaning in everything that we do. And what this does is set people apart. It puts them in the C-suite. It allows them to actually find a greater meaning and purpose in life. And it gives them more drive and motivation to want to do the things that they want to do, to have the hobbies they want to have the income that they want to have, whatever it is. And it starts with mastering the inner game. And this week we are looking at this mastering the inner game as we're launching off our third round of success groups. So I've got 3 books, technically 4. I've got a prequel out there that goes really clinically into what the neuroscience of the brain is doing and why we get lost and why we get stuck and how to get out of it. And then I made 3 workbooks. The part 1 of key steps to living a happier and healthier life is going in and we're going to build a framework for success. We're going to look at our goals. We're going to look at how stress in life comes in and interferes with our ability to be successful. Part 2 is the emotional resiliency. We just wrapped that group up. We found some really great insights, and if you go to last week's video, you're going to hear all of the great insights that we pulled, the top 5 things that we pulled from the part 2 group. And on February 24th, we're going to be launching the success group of interpersonal skills and networking. We've got algorithms for networking and building friendships and connections. We have behaviors predictable that you can actually interact with people and know exactly what they're going to do. How not to let shame and get come out of your mindset. No judgment. There's no judgment. If you actually can predict behavior, there can't be any judgment with it. And so we're unlocking all of that, and we're starting with interpersonal skill building. So the mastering the inner game is regulating those emotions, locking in on leadership functions, which is our executive functions. So that's where our planning is, that's where our action orientation is, that's where we're kind of zooming out and seeing the bigger picture. Then we are getting into building self-awareness and self-love and acceptance, and that moves us to this final piece, which is interpersonal skills. It's building emotional quotient, understanding other people and being able to maximize on that experience. And so there are key things that we want to look at when it comes to executive function and peak performance. And that is really zooming out and looking at things as a whole. I talked about looking at life like a jigsaw puzzle. Take a look. It's a great perspective changer. We love jigsaw puzzles, and so it's a really cool way to see life a little bit differently and our success game and our strategy just a little bit differently. And that's the point, is that if we keep approaching life exactly the way that we've been doing it, we're missing out on thousands and thousands of opportunities to do one thing that will better our situation and lead us to all of our hopes and dreams. And so when we can understand that it all comes, that we need people, that I always get this word, it's really hard for me to say it, ostracizational trauma. Is a thing, and so we need one of our universal constructs that we went over a couple weeks ago. We need a sense of belonging, And so it is imperative that we connect with others, because the second we stop being able to be successful with connecting with others, we're missing a huge opportunity, and we're struggling, and that is a big blockage. We are opening up a group for women in dating. So we're looking at the barriers and the blockages in our lives that is allowing us to be successful in the professional world, but really hindering us from being available and successful in the dating world. And so connecting with others, feeling like you belong, is a big component of that. And so we're going to be diving into that in the next 9 weeks. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, and definitely keep watching. We're looking at, as we keep doing these interpersonal dynamics, we want to know that we want to be action oriented, and we want to be in the here and now, grounded in the here and now, and we want to see people for the roles that they are playing. So interpersonal dynamics is really seeing what is your motivation right now to talk to me, and what is my motivation to talk to you? Like, what do you want to gain out of this? And that's not nefarious. You know, oftentimes I'm an expert at behavior, and so I share with my clients all the time what I'm hearing is that, you know, when you had this conversation, this is what they're wanting out of it. And when you had this conversation, this is what you wanted. Well, I wasn't trying to be manipulative. You weren't. They weren't trying to be manipulative either. But because behavior is predictable, because our past and stressful situations will often filter and come into our present. We talked about perceived realities a couple weeks ago. It is a part of the emotional regulation, and we're gonna kind of take one step forward with that to understand what triangulation is, and that's coming up this week as well. That we see that it's all these blurry lines, and we're not really present with ourselves, and therefore we're not really present with other people. And so what we're trying to do is find that sense of presence for ourselves. We're trying to build into the trust feedback loop. Another video that I've done it really is the foundation to a negative or positive dynamic. And being able to realize that if we are not in the here and now, that our past will come in, filter our present, and we will triangulate people, and they will triangulate us. And then those universal constructs come up, and life gets really, really complicated really, really fast. And it feels like we're not being seen and heard. It feels like we have no value. It feels like we don't belong. We start to feel unsafe. We feel like we have no agency. And all the doors of our past are open, and we are just defensive. We are defensive, and we become offensive, like offensive. And what we want to do is ground in the present and be on offense. We don't want to be offensive. We don't want to be defensive. We just want to be on the offense. We want to call the shots. We want to make the goals. We want to score. And we do that by learning key components and interpersonal skills. Being able to validate, understand where somebody's coming from. You don't have to agree with it. Radical acceptance. You don't have to agree with where they're coming from. You're saying, I see why you're motivated to talk to me right now. I know what you're trying to get. I'm going to validate you. I'm not enabling. I'm saying, I see what you want. And therefore, I will reciprocate with, I see this, and then we're going to play improv, like yes and. I receive what you are asking, and I am expanding on it. So we're going to be doing a lot of improv these next 9 weeks, and I can't wait to show it to you. So hit subscribe. We've got a lot to cover. Interpersonal dynamics is a major key step in success. It means interacting with other people, making meaningful connections, and we've got lots of tips and skills. So go in and get the free interpersonal dynamic workbook to get started today, and sign up for my success groups. I've got women in dating and young professional women. Thank you so much.